Happy Friday and welcome to today's Friday Tech Bites. I'm joined by Kirsten. How you doing, Kirsten?
I'm doing good, Rick. I mean, there's nothing like being live on Friday. It's one of my favorite things.
For sure. Now, Kirsty and I should say Kirsten, sorry. Kirsten and I are both in Central Ohio, and we want to know where you are from. So go into the chat of the application of the platform you're on. We're live on three different platforms, and just let us know your U.S. state or your country. And we have our producer Mark in the ATL, and we also have Katie over in Romania. We got, let's see, Wyoming and New Mexico checking in. I think that's Wyoming. Hey, yeah, pretty sure. Wyoming, welcome, welcome. And we want to light up the map to let us know where you're from. So every now and then we get some new visitors from different countries and the like, but let us know where you're from. All right, Kirsten. So you were with me 2 weeks ago, I think, and we were on that revisited track, right? I think we spoke about what was the last one? NAS?
Yes, NAS backups.
Yep. And today, what's the topic?
So we're revisiting workstation and physical server backups. So just like Veeam can protect your virtual machines, your cloud workloads, we can also protect those physical servers, workstations that you have in your data center as well.
Yeah, so that's a really good one because when we think about the agents, the workstation and physical server backups, to this day, Kirsten, and you might see it on some of the presentations you do, the community work you do, people still think that Veeam is just this virtual backup platform, but things have come a long way. So the Veeam agents, I guess let's start with the definition. The Veeam agents are, first of all, part of Veeam Availability Suite, or that combination of Veeam Backup and Replication and VeeamON. And it's really meant for those physical workloads. And, that's something that has been really important for us to go into the enterprise and tackle new workloads and things like that. But a lot of everything else that comes with it really aligns to everything else we do with our other backups. And Kirsten, I think you were with us when we first announced the Veeam agent, right? So you started in 2014, and that's when we announced the first agent. Do you remember what the big news was with that at the time?
I think I don't know, but it might have been that it was offered for free first.
That's right. That was the
Yeah.
big hubbub at first. Yeah, it was free. And it's actually kind of funny because Kirsten's been with us for quite a long time. And I remember distinctly, Kirsten, when we had that Veeam agent. Remember that I set that physical server on your desk and you're like, what's this? Right? Because she was done all of her lab work on virtual machines at the time. So like those of you who started on, physical servers and went to virtual machines, it was like hers was the reverse. But
Yes, that's really true. But hey, it was easy to get set up and installed, and I think I had it done within the day. So
there you go. There you go. That's true. You always do figure it out. But the agents bring a couple of key benefits, and let's walk through these bottom four. Kirsten, why don't you take one of these bottom four and tell me which one you like best?
I like the fact that the Veeam agents, they are integrated with they're part of Veeam Availability Suite, so you can actually, manage your agents through the Veeam console that you already know and are familiar with. But also, it brings in that data and information and that visibility into VeeamON as well. So think about you're already monitoring your data protection operations. Maybe you're backing up virtual machines. You have your cloud native workloads in there, but now you can also monitor your Veeam agents, get daily reports on the backup status, the history of backup jobs, anything like that. So really, giving you, the whole suite, and that includes the Veeam agents.
Yeah, I think that that's a really important part, that those finer points of backup, monitoring analytics, and also just the compliance, the 3-2-1 rule, right? We can do that very easily now with the agents. And then cloud mobility and the restore to any location, those are really central to the agents as well. Now, one thing I'll disclose, and this will make a little bit more sense when we get to the next bit, not all agents are at the same level of capability, right? Some are newer, first of all, and then second of all, some just by platform have more to work with. So I think that, you think about any Veeam backup, instant VM recovery, restore to a new location, restore to the cloud. These are things that we have taken for granted and just expect from a Veeam backup, but they show up in the agents. So, and I guess I should set up to the crowd earlier. later that we will be doing a dial-a-demo type of thing here in a little bit. So Kirsten's going to put me on the hot spot, but we have a trick coming up. We have a third choice. It's not just one or two. So let's see how sharp my fingers are. And I want to say a big hello to Ken Miller, by the way, from the OH is on the line. Ken's going to be our guest next week, by the way. I don't want to spoil the teaser. But thank you so much, Ken, for tuning in. All right, so Kirsten, let's start with a question here. Let's also see what the audience has to say. How many agents are there? What's your guess, Kirsten? Well, you already know the answer, I guess.
I don't know if I can answer the question because I do know the answer, and I don't want to give it away ahead of time. We want people to, answer the question. So I'm not gonna answer this.
All right. I don't want you to answer it. I don't want you to spoil it. But, for a lot of the market, they don't know. The real answer is there's 5. There's 5 Veeam agents out there. And let's walk through. So any guess on the first one, Kirsten?
I would say Veeam Agent for Microsoft Windows.
Indeed. That one really was the first one. And so we go back to that VeeamON 2014 when we announced it. That was at the time called Veeam Endpoint Backup Free. So it was just by the name, it was scoped into being free and not server workloads. And it was a great way to seed the market. I don't know the exact number. I think this number is like 3 years old, but I think there was been well over 1 million downloads of that product. Incredible stuff. Actually, we're going to take a pause right there, and just got word from the producers that the map is ready. So let's take a quick look at the map application. Whoa, got some action. So let's start in North America. We've added Texas, we've added Tennessee, Illinois, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts. Welcome everyone. And then let's pick a new continent. Let's see what we have now. EMEA, we've got Spain, we've got Swiss, we've got Germany, Austria, UK, and Northern Ireland are in the house, and let's pick a new continent. That's Brazil. That's an easy one. I didn't even have to look at the notes. And then the next continent, oh boy, I'm not really good on my Central Africa. I got to go to the notes here. Central African Republic, Nigeria, Egypt, Oman, Morocco, and Angola. I could have got a couple of them, but I'm not really good at that live and hot. Then over in what here at Veeam we call it the SARC region, we've got Oman, we've got India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Wow, good attendance here today. So those agents are popular, and I want to give Craig Dalrymple, my bro up in Scotland. He says, great story on the code name. He's referring to the code name of this product was really meant around one of our co-founders kept losing his laptop. So let's have a backup. So story for a bar sometime. Anyways, so the Veeam agent for Windows, and fast forward to today, Kirsten, we can do failover clusters, physical servers, all the latest and greatest Windows. I think it's the 2012 R2 and higher. Because 2008 was deprecated. It used to work there. The previous versions do. And Kirsten, I believe you're backing up your workstation with it, right?
Yeah, I started off using the free endpoint, and now I use the Veeam agent for Microsoft Windows. I have my own little external hard drive I back it up to. And I've even, dabbled in some of the other agents as well that we have to back up my own personal computer, because I grew up not using Microsoft Windows all the time. I used another operating system as well, so I have some devices that need to be protected.
There you go. So one other actually interesting story on Veeam Endpoint Backup Free when this was launched in 2014. I installed it on my mother-in-law's computer, and just this holiday season, she said, "Hey, Rick, I need a new computer." And I didn't really think about it. I didn't really go back and touch it. But she had been running the beta. I should have blogged it or done a screenshot. She was running the beta on her home computer all this time, and the job never failed once. So I was really happy about that. But it was slow, and she needed a new one. All right, next agent. Veeam agent for Linux, right? This is a really popular one because a lot of Linux workloads out in the mix, enterprise apps on servers. And honestly, Veeam really is doing a lot in the Linux space. So that's a big one, a lot of interest there. And then, when we talk about enterprise data centers, enterprise workload. The other two, the Solaris agent, that comes up a lot. I get a lot of big customers asking for this platform and then that platform, AIX. Now, I've purposely put them in this order because they really are about that from a Veeam age. They're more mature to the left and newer to the right, and we're not yet done. But these Unix agents, I'll say they get a little bit different. I'll first of all say that to the market, what the Windows agent does is you can't do exactly the same thing across the rest. But I will say that the Linux agent is the development kind of target for the Unix agents, right? So if we do something on the Linux agent, you can almost deduct that we can get to doing that in the other Unix agents. And then so that adds up to 4, Kirsten. What am I missing here?
You're missing the newest one, which is Veeam Agent for Mac.
That's right. So Mac OS agent. Now that one I'll also say is a little bit different as well. It doesn't have the same type of capability, but it's a very different platform as well. But it's really attractive to get. Oh, hey, Paul Barron's in the house. I'll give you a like. It gives you that type of protection angle for these other platforms. And we actually have an older Mac here in the office that I set up in the lab. And it was actually so easy to drop that in because I have never used a Mac person ever in my life. But I figured out the Veeam agent. Now, have you put the Veeam agent on a Mac before?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty, easy to use. That's what's great about Veeam products is it's never something that you haven't seen before, especially since you have been using Veeam. You're familiar with the steps, so easy, simple to use, and get started to start protecting your machines, your data.
Indeed. And if you're not really sure where to go, the easiest place to go is helpcenter.veeam.com, especially for like the Linux agent, the Mac agent, maybe some of the Unix agents. They have some documentation that will explain some of the commands and the different things you'll need to do. And the agents are good, but you really can't not have Veeam backup and replication and VeeamON as part of the mix. These will provide that central management, reporting, alerting, and things like that. And the other thing I'll highlight is if you install Veeam backup and replication, you actually install what I call the redistributable installation of these agents. So if you sit and watch the progress bar go, you'll see that the agents are dropped in so that you can push them out. And I mentioned that the best place to go is Help Center. So if I go in here, for example, and I'll just show you real quick, if you haven't used Help Center, it is by far one of the best resources to go into. So, all the different agents are listed in here. You can see that they're not necessarily listed in chronological order, but by agent, but they're grouped as such. But if you take the Veeam agent for Linux, for example, go into the user guide, you can get into all types of information about installation and configuration. Like, for example, if you're using the different types of Linuxes, if you need an RPM or a zipper or a DPK, this is the information you need in Linux world. So if you haven't been to Help Center, this is definitely a great resource to check out. Anything to add on that, Kirsten?
No, I think that Help Center is the go-to for any type of, setting things up. Help Center, man. I use Help Center all the time, and
oh yeah,
I just so it's really easy to use, and I love how it's just like a URL, and you can just navigate through it. Like, some user guides you look at, and you're like, what is this? So yeah, I give our Help Center A+.
Hey, speaking of A+, we might have hit a record. There's one of the attendees on the LinkedIn stream is coming us from, well, he put it in English as Ivory Coast, but I want to say Côte d'Ivoire from Africa. That might be a first on the live stream. So CIS West Africa, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And, there's a couple of key agent capabilities we'll highlight here. There's a lot of things that are consistent with what we do at Veeam, and you'll see that in the agents as well as you will other backup products. One is the change block tracking driver. In Windows and Linux, it's called different things, but this will really make the incremental backups fast. In fact, I did a paper a couple years ago, right after we launched the server CBT driver or Veeam change block tracking driver. You don't ever want to it's not really necessary, but I was doing comparisons between what does the server CVT engine perform at, and then what does hypervisor CVT perform at. And I found that the server CVT was actually faster than what the hypervisor CVT was doing. So for physical servers, you had an opportunity to get those really quick incremental backups. And then Veeam Snap and Linux kind of gave you that same type of thing. So that's pretty cool. Second thing is restore portability. That's always been a big thing at Kirsten, or here at Veeam, Kirsten, restoring to different hypervisors and clouds. Do you see a lot of people taking that option?
Yeah, I think that especially when you think of maybe a DR scenario where your server goes down, you're able to restore to a public cloud. Maybe you are migrating your machines to virtual machines, and you can restore to a VM in vSphere or Hyper-V. So really giving you that portability that you mentioned.
And one thing I'll highlight is sometimes you don't know that you're going to need to restore to somewhere else. And what I mean by that is, especially nowadays, you might not be able to get parts in 4 hours for physical servers. And maybe going to a hypervisor, well, now we're going to migrate. Or the other thing I'll highlight is, I think still to this moment, VMware Converter is deprecated. You have a mechanism here with the Veeam agent for Windows and Linux to restore those workloads to VMware, right? So you have basically a P to V conversion or V to V conversion. That's an important tool, especially if you might need that type of thing. And a big shout out to Paul B. yet again, Mr. Connecticut, who did an update tweet. What a quinky dink there. Very good. Thank you for sharing that, Paul. And then the other thing I'll highlight is that you have additional recovery options. I remember a long time ago, Kirsten, when we first added the Hyper-V backup, Anton told me the only difference is the source. The target is the same, that VBK format. Same really applies here. So a lot of our recovery options, the explorers, the disk, file level recovery, a lot of those constructs are maintained when we really just keep that VBK portable backup format in the mix. But also, if you need to restore just a file, no big deal. The Enterprise App Explorers, no big deal. And then, of course, bare metal. I'll tell you, for the hobbyists at home, the Veeam agent has a free edition, and it's a great mechanism if you need to move a home system to an SSD or old laptop to new laptop, desktop at home. It's a great tool for that. And I should also highlight that there's really two types of Veeam agent, right? It's a workstation or a server. Now, Kirsten, explain to me the difference between a workstation agent and a server agent.
Well, a workstation agent is going to be installed on your desktop, laptop, and then a server agent is going to be installed on a machine that runs, databases. Maybe it runs. Maybe you want to, back up your hypervisor. You could, install the server agent on that server and back that up. So the workstation is going to be a little bit more, family friendly, and the server agent is going to be more, business friendly.
Family friendly. I love it. Love it. So a couple of things I'll add to that. First of all, the workstation license that consumes 1/3 of a VUL, the Veeam Universal License, which is what the topic was last week. By the way, you can replay that at YouTube. The server license consumes one Veeam Universal license. And the workstation mode doesn't give you things like application-aware image processing because it's not a server. Now, the server type, I should say, not mode, the server mode or server type would be for systems that have a need for enterprise application consistency, file system indexing, and stuff like that. And you can still have desktop OSs, say Windows 10, have databases, right? So if you think about some of your edge locations, you might have a payroll system with a timekeeping app. You could do the server on a Windows 10 system, right? So it's very flexible is a real takeaway. The workstation versus server, real simple difference is how they handle enterprise apps, quiescence, and then that'll predicate how you get a little bit of recovery. But then secondly, the 1/3 VUL for workstation and 1 VUL for server. And by the way, there's still plenty of people that install the agent on virtual machines, especially if some storage environments are just too sensitive for snapshots. You can have that type of thing. And then the last thing I'll highlight is that the management of these agents, right? And it was, especially when we first started, agent here, agent there. I mean, I have a whole house full of agents myself. But when you're talking about managing lots of physical servers, lots of endpoints, you're really going to want to gravitate to that mode of managed by server or managed by the individual agent, which could also mean a little bit unmanaged. All right, so in a second, we're going to do a vote. So we're going to ask everybody 1, 2, or 3 what I'm going to have to demo, but I do want to let everybody know we have a lot of stuff coming about the agents in V12. There's some really, really cool updates that are going to be happening. And I know, Kirsten, you've been assigned a few things at VeeamON, but what can you tell us about VeeamON 2022?
Well, VeeamON 2022 is back in Las Vegas, and we know we love some Las Vegas, but it's a really good place to, hear from our technologists, Rick, I know Danny, a couple other of our tech people here at Veeam about what's coming from Veeam, dive a little bit deeper on some of the products, get help with sizing your environment, maybe learn about a new product or learn more about a product you haven't learned before. So really, if you want to come, I would love to see you in Las Vegas because I know I will be there. But if you can't come, we do have the virtual option available to you. So make sure you register to save your spot. And then you can see us, on TV in your own home, live and, presenting to you about Veeam. I think that I'm really excited just to hear too more about like the V12 talk track and learn more about what's coming.
Indeed, indeed. The virtual experience will be free 99. You can attend for free. All right. So, Kirsten, dial my deal here. What are we going to ask the audience to do?
Yeah. So, which should Rick demo? 1, 2, or 3? So, do we want to restore an agent to a virtual machine? Do we want to restore an agent into Azure? Or do we want to walk through backing up an agent? So, 1, 2, or 3, choose your favorite, and let's see what happens.
And while these numbers are coming in, let's take a quick hit on the map here. I got, whoa, it's so busy. I don't even know what's new. Let's start with North America. We've added California. We've added Florida. We've added Pennsylvania. We've added another resident from Texas and Connecticut, both. Thank you. We've added Mexico. We've also gone over to EMEA. We've added France and Italy. Thank you all for, I think Spain's new too. I can't tell, but it's there. And Swiss as well. And then, a little bit more in Central Africa, Ivory Coast, I mentioned. We've added Iraq. We've added another resident from India. Man, so much comment. I can't even keep up with the application. I love it. All right. So let's see what I see a lot of numbers here. I'm asking our producers to pick, and looks like 2 is the winner. Do you think that was close to what we were going to pick there, Kirsten?
Yeah, I think that one's actually really cool to see it live and in a demo. So let's see it, Rick.
Now I knew that was going to be what y'all were going to pick. No joke, because I went ahead and did it here so you can see the result. This particular lab, this size of VM, it did take 33 minutes. I didn't want to make you wait for that because production time is real. But I'm going to kick off another one and you'll see what I'm talking about. So if I take a look at any of the backups, agent or other here, right? Anything I have here, here's an agent backup. This particular one is domain controller, probably a bad example, something to throw to the cloud, but nonetheless, I have an agent here. I could take that and you could just quickly send it to Amazon, Azure, or Google. I am of the Azure persuasion today, so let's do that. So we have this agent, and I've taken a backup with the Veeam agent for Windows. Where am I going to put it? What subscription? Now, I already have that subscription defined in here. So the Veeam Labin account for Rick is in there. All right. I'm going to choose my region. All the standard Azure regions are there. Same behavior in AWS. And I am given a warning about sovereignty location because I haven't matched the locations for where the backups come from. So that's something you really want to think about when data starts leaving your control. good to know, but I'm going to proceed. Now, one of the next set of questions are actually so important. It's going to ask you the VM size or the geometry that you want to give to what you're restoring here. So I'm going to bring up the option here, and you'll see that I could, if I wanted to, just take the basic, whoops, didn't draw right. But I could just put the VM in the smallest geometry available. Or if I want to just destroy my cloud budget, I could do something like that, but we don't do that on Fridays on this show. The storage type and the storage account, those are areas that matter as well. I have a storage account that was randomly generated where I put my virtual disk, my Azure disks, right? And then the resource group, I already have a resource group set in here. I'm going to put a name here, restored, and set a resource group. The default resource group for what I'm doing in Central US sounds like a good place. Now, what I recommend is that you do these types of restores to Azure. Now, Kirsten, have you done this before yourself?
Yeah, I think I have before, yes.
Or maybe AWS. I think you were doing it.
Yeah, I was doing with AWS, but I haven't done it recently. I've been pretty busy over here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you better talk to your boss about that. But the main thing I want to highlight is that when you do a restore, you're going to get a lot of questions about these resource groups, the storage config. You want to have all that sorted, kind of planned for where you want these compute resources to go. Kind of an interesting angle here I want to highlight is secure restore, is that you can scan what you restore before you throw it in the cloud. Kirsten, that's brilliant. And what I mean by that is you can check it to make sure it doesn't have it doesn't have malware on it, because sometimes you might have to restore to the cloud, not because you want to, but because you have to. It might be the only place to go. Craig asks, what about an agent to a VM? And I lost your question, Craig. Sorry. But yeah, Craig, we have a lot of flexibility. Agent to a VM, VM to the cloud and things like that. And then I can just drop in a name, Friday, Tech, Bytes. Do we put a Y in there? I don't know. And then it's going to go. Okay, so it's just going to summarize everything, double check all these configurations in Azure. It's going to get it and hit it. Now I'm going to let this go because it does take a click of time. The one that I did right before the show here was this particular one. It was a different system, restore to Azure, and it was a success. I just let it run. I'm letting that other one run. It did take about 30 minutes, but one of the things I want to highlight, Kirsten, is right around here. You'll see that there's this notion of a conversion. This is really important. If you go to, for example, AWS, you have to do a UEFI to BIOS conversion. Or I went, in this case, from Hyper-V to Azure, or I'm coming in the other example from Veeam Agent physical system to Azure. All of this stuff is sorted for you. It's easy peasy. There's no options associated with it. The other thing I'll show you real quick, I got so many windows, so much activity. Not this one, sorry. I have a Azure console. I'm supposed to have an Azure console up that shows the new VM. There it is. Sorry to keep you watching my very busy system. Now, before the show, I logged into the Azure portal, and you can see that I have 5 VMs in Azure right now in the Central US location. Now, I'm going to refresh this, and we will see the 6th one, I hope, which was the one that just finished. Yes, there we go. And you can see that this TPM one, which stands for our lab, and that W Server 2019 E2, that one was what I just threw up. Oh, that doesn't sound right before lunch. That's the one that I just put up into the cloud. So I kind of, through the magic of television, and Kirsten, you know, how did I know? How did I know people were going to choose restore option to Azure?
Do you want me to guess?
Yes, please guess, because I really thought they would pick something else, but that's the one I had to do a little bit of show and tell first.
I just think that from what I've learned over the past couple of years here, is that a lot of people who are working from home now, they need that protection, and businesses are migrating to the cloud. I think like some statistics from a data protection report might have said, like, 50% of businesses are, moving to the cloud. And it's an easy way to, get that, laptop server into the cloud. So yeah, I just feel like that's where it's going, Rick. What do you always say?
You only, I say a lot of things. The only way to learn how to swim is by swimming. That one? Is that what I say?
No, there's no such thing as too much cloud.
Oh, that's right. There's no such thing as too much cloud. So cheers, Kirsten. So a couple things. By the way, best username ever, big old Veeam fan. I love it. Asked a question, but is there plans to get the agent to back up a proxy? Actually, you should be able to do that right now. Caution, don't mix and match versions. We had one really bad time where we pushed the beta to everything in the lab, VeeamON 2017. We don't want to talk about that. And then, so yes, you can, especially if your proxies are virtual. So a couple of things to wrap up. One, big thanks to Mark and Katie, our producers, keeping us on schedule and on topic. Monday, the Industry Insights series is back. They're completing a four-part series reviewing the data protection trends report. Should be very interesting. I was blown away by some of that data. Good stuff. And then a week from today, we're going down a floor to the studio, and I'm going to host Ken Miller. We're going to have a Voice of the Customer segment, and Ken is going to show us his logic on how he sets up the schedule for his backup jobs across the products. So Ken sent me some info. We're going to prep up some good stuff. So should be a great episode. Hope to see you all next week. So Kirsten, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Outstanding. And everyone have a great weekend. And that concludes today's Friday Tech Bites.